Give me your headline take. How significant was this at a bilateral level, and what do you think was materially achieved?
I think a lot, and in some ways, Middle East has become the focal point of Modi government's foreign policy over the last few years. We have seen an expansion of ties, which had been very traditional in the sense of primarily focused on energy and labor. Today, those ties, as your report was underlining, encompasses high-end technology, defense, economics and trade, investments. So the expansion of this relationship has been extraordinary. Not only India-Saudi, but India's footprint in the Middle East. And I think that's the big story here, that Prime Minister himself is investing in this relationship, and this was his third visit to Saudi Arabia, underscoring how committed he is in developing this particular relationship. And I think what we saw coming out was an increased focus into making this relationship more forward-looking, more germane to the economic underpinnings of the two countries that see themselves as economic powerhouses in the coming years.
Harsh, let's talk trade, because Modi, of course, flagged the idea of a GCC-India FTA. What might that look like, and how close are we to actually seeing that come to fruition?
I think India, traditionally had not been very, very enthusiastic about FTAs, and India's record is not very good in signing FTAs. But what the change that we are witnessing in India now is an acceptance that this is a unique moment in global economy, global economic order, and India should be investing in these FTAs with critical actors across the globe, particularly those with whom there is a wider, larger political synergy. And I think that this economic coalition of like-minded partnerships that India is exploring encompasses geographies like Europe, and of course India is negotiating with the US, the Trump administration, and I think GCC is such an important player in that regard, both in terms of traditional energy ties, but also the widening basket of exports and imports from the region, that I think it makes sense for India and the GCC to invest. And also what is happening is the GCC itself, the Gulf countries, the Arab Gulf countries, are looking at Asia more, as the primary area of engagement, a slight shift away from the West that traditionally had dominated the Gulf. And I think that shift is bringing the two nations, the two geographies together in ways that is quite unprecedented. And trade is at the heart of that, that as economies in Asia grow, as economies like India grow in the Indo-Pacific, the Middle East will have to engage much more substantively, and an FTA with GCC and between GCC and India becomes the driver for that engagement. So I think for both India and GCC, it makes a lot of sense to engage in this FTA, given the particular circumstances that we are witnessing at the moment.
Harsh, do you think an India-GCC FTA also has some geopolitical weight here, perhaps as a counter to China's growing inroads into the Gulf and wider region?
There is an element of that. I think we are seeing, increasingly, everyone is concerned about, dependencies and how those critical dependencies become vulnerabilities. So diversification of partnerships is key. From the point of view of GCC, it is important that they diversify their partnerships. And India is certainly a growth story at the moment. From India's vantage point, as India looks at the Middle East through a strategic lens. Let's remember how at the G20 presidency, the very ambitious India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor was launched, and it is stuck at the moment because of the political volatility in the region. But that remains a big ambition for India and for countries in the Middle East like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. I think there is a genuine desire to enhance this relationship from India's side. There is a desire to expand its footprint, not only to manage China's rise in the region, but also to ensure that the historical civilizational connect that India shares with the region gets updated in the 21st century realities. So certainly there is a geopolitical element there, but geopolitics increasingly is driving many of these economic considerations. And therefore, it is but natural that both sides will see the FTA also as an extension of their geopolitical priorities.